আসসালামু আলাইকুম ওয়া রাহমাতুল্লাহ। আলহামদুলিল্লাহি রাব্বিল আলামিন ওয়াসসালাতু ওয়াসসালামু আলা সাইয়্যিদিল মুরসালিন ওয়া আলা আসহাবি আজমাইন। ওয়েলকাম টু এভরিওয়ান। Today we will show Masjid Nabawi, Rawza, Riyazul Jannah and some important place inside Riyazul Jannah. So this is the place where Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam Rawza situated. So today inshallah we will see everything about his Rawza and Riyazul Jannah. Now we show the gate by which we can go Rawza of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the gate name is Bab as-Salam. It is gate number 1, built by Khalifa Umar radhiyallahu anhu 640 in the western wall of the Masjid. During the various extension of the Masjid, this door was also moved to eastern in the same line, and today it is not in its original location. We can visit Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam by this gate.
كسرات الظهورك عندنا مثلها طوار يا سيدي يا سيدي واللي عجز معك معذور.
So now if we want to go there, then at first we need to book Prophet visit, and if we want to go Riyazul Jannah, then we need to also book for that. So we can book it through Itmarna application. It is available in Android and iPhone. So I have another video where I see how can you book it. So you can see this video. So this is the inside of Babu Salam. Now I go forward to visit Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in this place we need to read Durud several times. Now I passing the Mehrub and Member, and now passing the Riyazul Jannah. So when we reach in front of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then we need to give salam to him. Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah. And beside his Rawza there are another two graves, Hazrat Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu and Hazrat Umar radhiyallahu anhu. So we also need to give them salam. Assalamu alaikum ya Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu. Assalamu alaikum ya Umar radhiyallahu anhu. Now I am very close from where we can see the Prophet Rawza sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the approximate location where the house of Hafsa radhiyallahu anha, wife of Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Part of heart of Hafsa radhiyallahu anhu was located inside the present sacred chamber. This is the Bab al-Baqi. This is the gate number 41. Is located closer to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. By this gate we can exit from Prophet Rawza.
وبصار أمه لا بغات كيف البصار يا سيدي يا سيدي يا سيدي واللي عجز معك.
So this side Jannatul Baqi. The Roja is part of the Prophet Masjid and the prayer in it equals in riyad's 1000 pairs. However, there is no doubt that the Roja is of more excellence because the Prophet distinguished it and did not distinguish any other parts of the mosque for being a garden from the garden of paradise. Bukhari. The house of Aisha bin Abu Bakr radiallahu anha and the other wife of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were known as the Hujra, after which a whole chapter of Quran. Those Hujra was made of the same material with which Masjid al-Nabawi was built. In Hijri 1, the Masjid al-Nabawi will show like this. In the front side there are Qibla, and the behind side there are Sufa where Ashab Sufa where stay there, and Prophet's house is in this side. Now you can see the original design at the first time of Masjid Nabawi. This is around 35.05 meter wide and 35.62 meter long. In 7 Hijri, first expansion by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This time the masjid around 47.32 meter wide and height, and also their extension to the Prophet's house. This is the second expansion by Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu in 17 Hijri. This is the third expansion by Osman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu in 29 Hijri. This time masjid was 62.58 meter and 81.4 meter. At the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at the lower part of masjid, there are some people are live together. They called Ashab Sufa. The Ashab Sufa were companion of the Prophet, who, along with the performance of religious duties, were mostly tradesmen or farmers. They neither had wives nor children, and if any were to get married, he would leave the group. Many of them would go to the jungle in the day to collect wood, which would then be sold for money to feed themselves and the other member of the Sufa. When the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated to Medina, he had two wives, Aisha radiallahu anha and Sauda binte Jam'a radiallahu anha, who was his second wife. House for both of them were built next to each other, adjacent to the rear of Masjid Nabawi. The house of Hafsa binte Umar radiallahu anha, the fourth wife of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the daughter of Umar radiallahu anhu, was built south of the house of Aisha radiallahu anha soon after. The house belonging to Aisha radiallahu anha had two doors, one leading to Masjid Nabawi and the other opening towards the north. A portion of the house belonging to Hafsa radiallahu anha is today located inside the sacred chamber, and the remaining portion is where visitors stand when greeting the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, a grave was dug for him in the house of Aisha radiallahu anha, and he was buried directly beneath his bed. 2 years later, his companion Abu Bakr al-Siddiq radiallahu anhu was buried next to him, and 10 years after that, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu was buried in the same room. After Umar radiallahu anhu was buried, out of respect of him, she put up a partition in the house since he has not a mahram of Aisha radiallahu anha. There is a spot for a fourth grave in the sacred chamber where Isa alayhi salam will eventually be buried. The chamber has undergone many repairs, starting with the work of Umar ibn al-Khattab to the Prophet's Mosque in 638, where he replaced the fronts in the house with a wall. Al-Walid bin Abdul Malik, the sixth Umayyad Khalifa, expanded Masjid in 707. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, the eighth Umayyad Khalifa, rebuilt the chamber with black stones and then erected a pentagonal wall so as not to resemble the Kaaba. Now you can see one diagram where Roja Mubarak, Bab Jibril, Bab Baki, present Mehrub and some other important spots are located. The Rauda is one of the Riyazul Jannah and refers to the area between the tomb of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his member. It contains 6 pillars which stand on the exact place where the original column, made from dead plank trunks, stood during the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hadith: between my house and my pulpit is one of the gardens of paradise, and my pulpit stand on my pool. Narrated Sahih al-Bukhari. As a side note, the pool that is mentioned in this hadith, Al-Haud, will be located near the entrance of paradise on the day of judgment, and those who are permitted to drink from it by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will never experience thirst again. The water in Al-Haud is collected from a river of paradise known as Al-Kawsar. The original size of the Rawza is approximately 22 meters in length and 15 meters in width. My pulpit is one of the gates of paradise. Between the pulpit and Aisha's house is one of the garden of paradise. Narrated by Al-Haytami.
كيف البصار يا سيدي يا سيدي.
Ustawana Hannana. There is also called the Ustaana. This is the most blessed of the pillar, for this was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam place of Salah. On this spot there once used to grow a date plum tree. Before the advance of the member, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to land on it while delivering the khutbah. When the member was made, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used it for the khutbah. It so happened when the change took place, such a bitter sound of weeping was heard from the tree that the whole masjid echoed, and those in the masjid started weeping. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ then said, "The tree cries because the zikr of Allah was near it, and now that the member is built, it has been deprived of the zikr in its immediate vicinity. If I did not place my hand on it, it would have cried thus till the day of Qiyamah." Afterward, the tree dries up and was buried. Nabawi is the location of the actual spot from which Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to lead Salah. If you were to stand in the member for offering Salah, your place of Sizda will be where Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's feet used to be. The Prophet's place of Sizda is covered by the thick wall of the Mehrub. There are found 6 Mehrub inside Al-Nabawi Masjid, and choose to unify the lot into one single Mehrub. This is called the Osman Radiallahu Anhu Sanctuary. In reference to Osman, Allah be pleased with him, when Osman Radiallahu Anhu restored the southern side of the Nabawi Masjid after Omar did, because the masjid was renewed on the southern Qibla side only 2 times, once in the time of Omar Radiallahu Anhu and again in the time of Osman Radiallahu Anhu, and the Osman member remained a prayer site until now, being used all the Imams from Osman Radiallahu Anhu time until now present day. Salam used to lean against the trunk of a plum tree who is delivering a sermon. The answer humbly requested to him, "If you approve, we can make a pulpit for you." The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ approved it, and a pulpit was made. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to stand on the 3rd rung while delivering his sermons. When Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu became Khalif, he stood on the 2nd rung, and Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu stood on the 1st. Caliph Osman bin Affan did as Omar radiallahu anhu had done for 6 years before he returned to the old position of the Prophet. Amir Muawiyah radiallahu anhu made a pulpit consisting of 9 rungs. The leader started sitting on the 7th rung. Now you can see the platform Azan call to prayer in Masjid Nabawi. Ustewana Sarir. Sarir means sleeping place. It is reported that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to make ittikaf here also and used to sleep here while in ittikaf. A platform of wood used to be put here for him to sleep on. Ustuwana Ali. This used to be the place where some of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum used to sit when keeping watch or acting as gatekeepers. Ali radiallahu anhu used to be the one who mostly acted as such, for which it is often called Ustuwana Ali radiallahu anhu. When the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam entered the masjid from the door of Aisha's radiallahu anha room, he passed this spot. Ustuwana Ufuf, pillar of Masjid Nabawi. Ufuf means delegation. Whenever deputations arrived to meet the Prophet Muhammad SAW on behalf of the troops, they were seated here, and here he used to meet them, conversed with them, and taught them Islam. Ustuwana Aisha. The Prophet Muhammad SAW used to say his prayers here and afterwards moved to the place at Ustuwana Hannana. It is also called the Ustuwana Qora. The reason for this is that Aisha radiallahu anhu reports that the Prophet Muhammad SAW said, "In this masjid is one such spot that if people know the true blessed nature thereof, they would flock towards it in a manner to pray there they would have to cast such lost." People asked her to point out the exact spot, which she refused to do. Later on, at the persist of Abdullah bin Jubair radiallahu anhu, she pointed to this spot. Hence it is called Ustuana Aisha, because the hadith is reported by her and the exact spot was shown by her. It is a fact that Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and Umar radiallahu anhu very often used to pray here. This pillar, the fifth one down from the Aisha pillar and lined with Bab-e-Jibril, is the approximate spot where the Prophet Muhammad SAW led Salah in Medina when the Qibla was towards Masjid al-Aqsa and at the opposite direction of Makkah. This is the approximate location where one of the house of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu in Medina existed. The house was adjacent to the eastern wall of Masjid Nabawi at the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The main door of the house was in the east wall. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu also installed a small door in the eastern wall of the house that opened into Masjid Nabawi for easy access into the masjid. As mentioned in Bukhari, the Prophet Muhammad said, "Close all those doors which open into the masjid except the door of the house of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu." The Mehrab-e-Tahajjud were behind the Rauda Mubarak. This raised platform behind the Rauda Mubarak and in the line with Bab-e-Jibril is the approximate place where the Prophet Muhammad used to spread his prayer mat and perform the Tahajjud Salah from time to time. It is reported that this was the spot where late at the night a carpet was spread for the Prophet Muhammad to perform Tahajjud prayer. After all the people had left, it is currently covered by a bookcase, but this historic photo shows what exists behind it. And this is the small mehrab Pyarnis that also exists inside the Roza Mubarak itself. This door on the eastern side of Rauda Mubarak marks the place behind where the house of Ali Radhilanhu and his wife Fatima Radhilanha was located. Ustuana Jibril. This was the usual place where Jibril alayhi salam used to enter to visit the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Today it cannot be seen as it lies inside the sacred chamber of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Bab Jibril, Gate of Jibril, gate number 40, also known as Bab al-Nabi, is situated to the north of Bab al-Baki and is known as the Bab Jibril because, according to tradition, angel Jibril used to enter Prophet Masjid through this gate. According to Samhudi, it has been moved exact yards during many expansion of the masjid. This is the approximate place outside Babe Baki of Masjid Nabawi where the house of third Caliph of Islam Osman bin Affan radhiyallahu was located and where he was assassinated. This is the approximate spot at the front of Masjid Nabawi where existed the house of Abu Ayyub Ansari radhiyallahu. This is where the Prophet Muhammad initially stayed for several months on his migration to Medina while Masjid Nabawi and the adjoining rooms for his wives were being built. This walled enclosed on the eastern side of Masjid Nabawi is the region where the Prophet Muhammad used to lead Salah al-Janaza and the Sahaba continued this tradition. Bab al-Nisa, originally installed by the Umar ibn Khattab, the Nisa gate, gate number 39, was designed for the use of ladies to enter and leave the masjid premises. During the time of Umar bin Abdulaziz, it was exclusively assigned for and used by the ladies.